everyone, it's Amy from Curious Papaya, and I finally have my step-by-step star tutorial ready for you right here. Last year around this time, I released a giant star pattern that was free. Tons of you guys were requesting tutorials for it, and so it was time. The original pattern was made in honor of 4th of July, which is just around the corner, but this time around, I decided to make it in yellow and give it a cute little face. So I will walk you through every single step and how to do this yourself. Of course, you can modify using any color that you like. Leave it without a face if you prefer as well. Let's get started. Let's jump into materials. The first thing you'll need is jumbo chenille yarn. This is weight number 7. And I am using Parfait Chunky XL here. You can use any color of your choice. Here I'm just using yellow. And you can also use Sweet Snuggles or Chenille Home. Those are all pretty similar in weight. However, if you are using like Bernat Extra Chunky, that's like triple the thickness of this one right here. If you're not sure if your yarn is a good sub for the one I prescribed, please go to yarnsub.com and type in the brand that you do have, and you can just modify accordingly. I tend to use a 9mm hook with this type of yarn, but some people use 10 or even go down all the way to 7, which is a little small in my opinion. You'll also need scissors and a bunch of stitch markers, and you will also need a sewing needle, which I don't know where mine went right now, but that's okay. Okay, we'll also need some polyfill stuffing, so we'll grab that later when we need it. Let's jump right in. A quick note about assembly: we're going to be creating 2 centers at first, and then we're going to join them with stitch markers to create each of the 5 points. So the first thing is to make a magic circle and to single crochet 10. Now I'm going to use the alternative magic circle method, which is chain 2. I also have a slower tutorial of how to do this on my Amigurumi 101 playlist here on my channel. So let's go ahead and put 10 single crochets into the center. Okay, so I have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. One quick thing to note is that I am using yarn under / yarn over method. This is like my standard go-to method of single crocheting when I am using chunky chenille yarn like this. Simply because I just prefer the look of the slanted X-shaped stitches, but know that if you are yarning over, your make will be a little bit bigger than mine here, and if you are fully yarning under, it'll be a little bit smaller. It's funny how tension can make a big difference. Round 2, we're going to increase all the way around. I'm going to keep track of the start of my rounds with this scrap piece of yarn here, and that way I can just pull it out easily at the very end. So increase all the way around. That's 10 increases. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. Oopsies. That last stitch picked up my stitch marker. When you work in increments of 10, you're going to get a really wavy circle because those stitches are going to bunch up on each other. So this was specifically designed for this type of chunky chenille yarn, and usually you can make stars in increments of 8 or even 6, so just keep that in mind. All right, my camera just died on me there, so we're going to start round 3 by doing single crochet, increase, single crochet, increase, and keep doing that all the way around. Increase, single crochet, 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 and increase. Now at this point, you can really start to see where it's going to get really wavy, and trust me, it'll be even more pronounced if you are trying to use a thinner yarn. But don't worry, because once we stuff it, this is going to allow it that extra room to be extra bubbly and puffy, which is what we want for this adorable star pillow. Okay, so we have 30 stitches. Now round 4, we're going to do 2 single crochet, increase all the way around for a total of 40 stitches. However, to make our circle rounder, I'm going to split that 2 single crochet so that it's single crochet, increase, single crochet. So let's go ahead and do that. Single crochet, increase, single crochet. Now this is because the increases will stack on top of each other, and that's going to make a really pointy edged like hexagon kind of thing. So that's why we're staggering those increases. All right, single crochet, increase, single crochet, again, single crochet, increase, single crochet, 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 single crochet, increase, single crochet. All right, so we're at the end of our round and we have 40 stitches total now. Round 5, we're going to make 3 single crochet, increase all the way around for a total of 50 stitches. So we can do that. 1, 2, 3, increase. 1, 2, 3, increase. So notice how loose my tension is with my left hand. Normally if I'm crocheting with cotton yarn or something, I wrap it around my pinky so that I can make my stitches extra tight. But really with this type of yarn, it calls for a different strategy. You don't need to break your wrists over working with chenille. And so that's the beauty of it. You can work really loosely and just let the hook, the smaller hook size, do all the work for you so that you don't have a bunch of gaps. Okay, continuing. 1, 2, 3, increase. Oh, I just realized this little fluff is in the screen and that's gonna bother me when I'm editing. That's okay. 1, 2, 3, increase. 1, 2, 3, increase. 1, 2, 3, increase. Oopsies. 1, 2, 3, increase. 1, 2, 3, increase. Okay, 1, 2, 3, increase. And this is our last repetition. 1, 2, 3, increase. We're back at our stitch marker. Okay, so now we're going to fasten off our first piece and then we're going to make a second star center here. It is going to look a little bit wavy, and again, rest assured that is what we need. And so once you've done that, meet me back here and do not fasten off on the second piece. Hello friends, we are back with our 2 star centers, and for the second one we will not be fastening off, Instead, pull up a loop and set your hook off to the side. So for the star points, what we're going to do is hold the two centers together. And to do that, we're going to face the wrong sides of both of these centers together like this. I am going to just match up where we fastened off with where our current stitch is. For the next step, we will mark every 10th stitch with a stitch marker through both layers. So I'll model how to do that for the first couple. I have my stitch markers here, and we're gonna count from the left. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this is the 10th stitch. And then let's count from the back. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So one stitch marker is enough for for both of the layers, just like so. And now let's count another 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then count the back layer as well. Count next to the stitch that is marked with the marker. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, perfect. All right, another 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And hopefully you get the idea. Let's finish this up for the rest of the circle. And meet me back here once you are finished. All right, and now we are ready to continue where we left off, now that all of our stitch markers are set in place. So actually, before I begin, I also want to add one more stitch marker onto the front side of the star. And the reason for that is because every time we pick up new yarn to create another point, we want to make sure that we're starting from the same side so that the spiral works up the same way for all of the points. Okay, so let's go ahead and make the first start point. We're going to make 10 single crochet stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Our 10th one is going to be where this stitch marker is, so I can remove that in just a moment. And now we're going to turn our star to the opposite side. Keep track of that loop that was just marked with your finger. And we're going to make another 10 single crochet stitches. So the way that I like to do it is go into the opposite side like so, make your single crochet, and then turn. It just makes it a little bit easier. So that was 1. Okay, and then we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, and now we're going to find where that stitch marker is on the opposite side, and we're ready for round 2. So we have 20 stitches now that we did 10 this way and then 10 the other way. So round 2, we're going to start with a decrease, make 2 single crochets a total of 5 times. That's going to bring our stitch count down to 15. So we're going to start with an invisible decrease, which is just worked in going through the front loops only, I should say. So that's 1, and I am going to mark the first stitch of this round just so I don't get confused. All right, and then make 2 single crochet stitches, decrease. I know we've got the scritchy, scratchy sound from the stitch markers. All right, and then repeat that again, decrease, and then 1, 2, decrease, and 2. Okay, we now have 15 single crochet stitches, and now for round 3, we're going to decrease single crochet 5 times around to bring our stitch count from 15 to 10. So I'm going to set this on the side. Let's make our first decrease. And then I want to mark the start of this round here, and then single crochet into the next one, and keep on going. Decrease, single crochet, decrease, single crochet, decrease, single crochet, decrease, single crochet. All right, we have 10 stitches now. And for round 4, we're going to single crochet 10 times around. So this is my initial stitch, so I'm going to mark that. I might just use my scrap piece of yarn for the next start point. So this is our second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, 9th, and 10th. 10 stitches all the way around. Round 5, decrease all the way around to bring our stitch count down to 5. So that's our first one. And I'm not going to use a stitch marker actually for that, so we can just keep track of it. That's our second decrease. Our third decrease. Fourth. And the 5th decrease. I have 5 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we are ready to fasten off, and for this first star point, we're going to leave a longer tail than we normally would, because we're going to use this to close up all of the little gaps between all of the points at the very end. So now we have our first star point. Now remember, the front of our piece was marked with the stitch marker, and that's why this is important, because you see I finished and now we're facing the back. We would have picked up the next stitch over and started the next star point. We don't want to do that. We want to stay consistent with the direction that we are crocheting. So we would pick up the next star point right here on the front side of the piece that's marked with a stitch marker. So I'm going to model how to do that. Okay, so this involves joining new yarn, and so what I've done is I've made a slip knot, and my hook is already in the stitch that it needs to be in. I am going to attach that new yarn and pull it through, and then I'm going to chain 1. That's going to act as my first single crochet. Now I'm going to make 10 this way until I get to my next stitch marker. So let's go ahead and do that. That's 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and again the 10th one is marked, so we can remove the stitch marker while holding the back stitch in place. How am I going to do that? Here we go. This is on here good. Okay. So now we're going to go into the back side of the piece, insert your hook, single crochet as you normally would, and then turn. Now that's our first single crochet, so this is our second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, 8th, 9th, and 10th. Okay, we're ready to do round 2 again. This time I'm going to use that scrap piece of yarn to keep track of my rounds. And so we start off with a decrease. So it's decrease 2 single crochet all the way around. So it might be hard to get into that first stitch here. Let me wedge my hook in. There you go. And then into the next one to make my first invisible decrease. Right? And then 2 single crochets, decrease, 2 single crochets, decrease, 2 single crochet, decrease, 2 single crochet, decrease, and I am out of yarn on this skein. It was an impartial skein, so let me just grab new yarn and I'll join it and continue. So round 3 is decrease, single crochet 5 times all around to bring our stitch count from 15 to 10. So that first stitch here is a decrease, and I'm going to be joining my new yarn here just because I ran out of the previous skein. And to secure this in place, this is a great place for me to model how to do this. I like to double knot my chenille yarn. The texture is a little bit more slippery, and so just securing it will make sure that it doesn't come undone there. Cool. And now I can make my single crochet in the next stitch. All right, and let's repeat that sequence all the way around. Decrease, single crochet, decrease, single crochet, decrease, single crochet, decrease, and single crochet. I'm gonna wrap my stitch marker forward. So much easier than unclipping your stitch marker every round, I'm sure, but I wanted to demonstrate both ways. And then round 4, single crochet all the way around. So let's do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Wrap your stitch marker forward. Round 5, decrease all the way around. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Oh my gosh. Patience. All right, we are left with 5 single crochet stitches before we fasten off. So before I do that, I'm going to pull out my stitch marker. So much easier to use a scrap piece of yarn. Fasten off by slip stitching into the next stitch. Pull up a tail long enough to close up that hole and cut the yarn. Any of these fluffies will be repurposed in making this, in stuffing out the star, so don't worry. We'll just set it aside and reach for it later. You can see that it's starting to take shape. It's very puffy because, again, it's worked in increments of 10 single crochet stitches. And so I am going to work the rest of the star points all the way around and meet you back here once we are done. Be sure again to pay attention to where the front piece is of your star. Before you make the 5th point, we want to make sure to stuff everything really well while we have that nice opening. And so I've got my bag of polyfill here next to me. We're just going to stuff each of the star points first and do the center last. If you want it a little bit squishier, just be sure to not overstuff it. Otherwise, you'll have a very, very firm plush. Well, that might be what you want too. So, yep, I'm just gonna do this all the way around, making sure to get all the way to the tip. Okay. And this one needs a little extra. You don't want to understuff it because then the stuffing will move around over time and with cuddles. And then you don't want like an empty star point, if that makes sense. Let's work that last star point. So again, find the side of your star that is the front, join your yarn in the next stitch over. I've got my slip knot already made. I'm going to tighten that around the hook and pull that through, chain 1. So do what you're comfortable with. Let's do 10 this way. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It is a little challenging to film something this large because then you inevitably move off of the screen. So I'm just making sure here that I'm not too far off. Okay, and then back here, 10. I'm going to tighten up on that tension. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Stuff as you go for this star point, and you can pause the video and meet me back when you are done with that last point. Welcome back. So we have all of our star points. We have some tails to weave in, but first, this is not a part of my original pattern, but I felt like this would be so cute with safety eyes. So before I sew up those gaps, I want to figure out where I want to place these eyes so that I can add the backings onto them, secure them really nice and everything. And so how I'm going to do that is look at the center, and then we're going to count an equal number of rounds so that they are symmetrical. I'm using this star point as like a guideline to make everything centered because I don't want my eyes to be off on the center here where this is going to be the top of the face. So this is round 1, this is 2, 3, and so on. So I'm thinking I want my eyes, this is a little too close, huh? Maybe 1 apart, that looks kind of good. And then maybe like a little tiny curved mouth right there. I want to experiment though with 1 stitch higher. Nope, that's not right. Okay, back to where we were. Maybe like this, and then the mouth will go right here. It'll be 1, 2, 3 stitches wide or so, or 2 stitches wide. Okay, I think I'm happy with that placement. All right, now we want to sew up all of the gaps we have. I'm using a jumbo tapestry needle from Clover. I really do like these plastic jumbo ones for this kind of yarn, just because they're a lot stronger and easier to hold on to. They're a little bit longer too than your metal ones. So to sew up all of the gaps, we're going through the front loops only of the last 5 stitches and pulling tight. Then we are going to bury the yarn tail inside of the piece. You don't want to tug too hard and pucker in the star point. So again, once you're done, you can stuff that in. Okay, we're going to do that for each of the star points, and then we're going to use the longest tail last to sew up all of the gaps after. Pause and meet me back when you are finished. Welcome back. So we are ready to sew up the gaps now with that long tail that we saved for last. So the way we're going to do it is similar to whip stitching. You're going to go out of one side and into the opposite side, and just go ahead and do that across the whole. Oops, my stuffing kind of pulled out there. That's okay. We'll tuck it in with tweezers at the end. Okay, and I think each gap may need about 3 stitches or so. Then we're going to feed the needle. I kind of like worm it over, like inchworm it over kind of thing, to the next gap. And then again, starting from one side, just work your way across to the other. Like so. I feel like this would be a really adorable chibi version of like the Mario star as well. I absolutely love Mario. Okay, inchworm it over. I don't even know if that's the right word, but you know, it works. Okay, this is my next gap. Lost my tail here. Again, if this is like your first time working with chenille yarn and you're just like, why is it shedding so much? Just know it is normal. If you think about the construction of chenille yarn, it's a bunch of fibers around like the center stem, if you will, kind of like a chenille stick. Chenille stem, I mean, we call them pipe cleaners in the US, or maybe some parts of the US. And yeah, so if you shed it, I mean, if you're like cutting it on the tip, of course, there will be a little bit of shedding. But when we're at our last gap, oh, you know what? My tail was not long enough, so I am going to use this tail that was from joining the yarn from earlier. Okay, that works. So I'm rethreading my yarn here. That's the nice thing. You can kind of play it by ear and join new yarn if you need to. Make sure that you are going through pretty snug. So I started about maybe an hour ago. And so as you can see, this is really, really quick to work up. That's kind of nice. I'm sorry for moving out of the frame at times. I'm like as zoomed out as I possibly can be, by the way. Now I do have a little yarn tail sticking out here in the center. So I am going to secure myself a knot and then bury that. So the nice thing about chenille is like it buries all of your detail. So I can just tie a knot just like that. That kind of closes up that center hole as well. And if you're noticing that your stuffing is a little like chunky, you can just stick your hook in and kind of redistribute that stuffing as you need, carefully of course. Okay, and I am pretty much zoomed out as much as I can be, so I will get a better shot of this later. But I'm going to show you how I like to do my amigurumi mouths, since we did decide to give our little friend a face here. Of course, this is totally optional. You might just want that plain star, and that's fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm using a dark charcoal gray here, just a little bit softer than black. And the way I like to do my mouths is go in from one side. The mouth is going to be right here in between the eyes. I like to keep it pretty aligned, and I like to leave about a 3-inch tail or so. That's going to be to tie a yarn tail at the end. Now you can do a V-shaped mouth, but I personally like to do that subtle curved mouth. I do have like a tutorial on it on my Instagram for one of my Tip Tuesdays. This, you will need to use glue, and you could make like a cute little straight mouth. You could make a V-shaped mouth. But for me, I like to use a tiny bit of glue, like right before you pull it tight. And here I'm using UHU. Some people really don't prefer to use glue on their amigurumi, so that's fine. Just using a good fabric glue will be a good option if you don't mind though. And then the key is not applying too much, you see. And I feel like, to me, this extra little detail of creating that subtle curved mouth makes such a huge difference in the overall like style and feel of your amigurumi. So after it is dried in place, I can cut this a tiny bit shorter actually. And yes, I'm using kitchen shears because I misplaced my craft scissors, and I mean, they're great. So, you know, double knot your yarn tail here. I'm going to use my tweezers to push it in and bury it nicely so that it's not visible. Now, if you're using the prescribed materials, your star should be about 11 inches in diameter. Yep. 11 inches in diameter. Okay, so for the blush, I decided to use felt instead of embroidering them on with like other chenille yarn, just because I didn't like how it looked. So I'm gonna cut a small rectangle here, cut it in half. I think I finally cut the size that I'm happy with. And I'm gonna use my same UHU glue here and just spread on a thin layer, making sure to get all the way around the edges. And I like to kind of bury it underneath the eye like this. Of course, this is just my personal style. You can do whatever you like best. Okay. Again, I want to make sure everything is symmetrical. And I think the cheeks were the right move. I think it's finally looking complete now with the full facial details intact. That is so cute. Look at that baby. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial all the way through. And if you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe for more amigurumi tutorials. I'm always taking requests, so please don't be shy. Make your voice heard. What would you like to see next? Until next time, happy crocheting!